afternoon. Thank you everyone for coming. My name is Jessica Welshans and I live in the city of Rensselaer. We are here today in opposition of the Harbor Rock dredge incinerator being proposed in Rensselaer. My neighbors and I are tired of Rensselaer being the northeast dumping ground. We are tired of pollution driving our local economy. Rensselaer is 3 square miles in size, but is currently home to a fracked gas power station, an asphalt plant, the former BASF plant, which is a toxic Superfund site. Our city is split by Interstate 90. And we are home to the largest construction and demolition landfill in the Northeast United States, the Dunn Landfill. We are here today to announce our strong opposition to another new polluter, the Harbor Rock Incinerator project, and to call on the Rensselaer Common Council and our mayor to adopt a local law to prohibit incineration in the city of Rensselaer. Because Rensselaer already has our share of pollution and environmental blight. 9,000 people live here within these 3 square miles. This is a dense urban area, and the kids that live here already go to school next to a landfill. The future well-being of this city simply cannot afford any more polluters here. History does not need to keep repeating itself in Rensselaer. We oppose the opening of this sludge incinerator as a threat to both our air quality and our quality of life in Rensselaer. The Rensselaer Environmental Coalition's goal is to end our city's reputation as a home for polluters. Instead, we want Rensselaer to be known for our beautiful riverfront, our $1 million view of the New York's capital. Rensselaer is an old city with a unique history, not to mention incoming downtown revitalization initiatives, including a new walking bridge across the Hudson to Albany via the Livingston Bridge project. We want to keep Rensselaer a great place to live and visit and raise a family, instead of a home for polluters taking advantage of a low-income community with a long history of environmental injustice. I want to thank environmental advocacy leaders like Judith Enck for continuously showing up for the city of Rensselaer. I want to introduce Judith, who is our first speaker today. Judith founded Beyond Plastics in 2019 to end plastic pollution across the country. She is a professor at Bennington College. Judith has held top influential positions in state and federal government. Appointed by President Obama, she served as regional administrator of the Environmental Protection Agency. Previously, Judith served as Deputy Secretary for the Environment in New York, in the New York Governor's Office, and Policy Advisor to the New York State Attorney General. Judith lives in Rensselaer County, and whenever there are environmental threats to our community, she steps up, she shows up, and she supports us. She helped us defeat the previous bio-high-tech project at this very same site, and is helping us on this environmental threat as well. So it is my great pleasure to introduce Judith Enck.
We're standing here on the banks of the Hudson River. All of us collectively have spent decades cleaning up this historic river. And just to our south is the old BASF chemical facility, which is highly contaminated. As a former federal regulator, I know that so many of these polluting facilities get concentrated in particular communities. And it is appalling that this company wants to build a sludge or sediment incinerator here in the city of Rensselaer on the BASF property that still has not been cleaned up. We are here united opposing the Harbor Rock incinerator proposal. We are here united also sharing the message that if, due to the leadership of the mayor and others, if Harbor Rock comes to their senses and decides not to proceed with this project, if they try to get a foothold across the river at the Port of Albany, at the Port of Queens, anywhere in this region, we will come together and oppose it there as well. So, and that's what I love about the Capital District environmental community. People knock down polluting proposals, they work for clean, sustainable proposals, and when other communities are threatened, people come together. So to be clear, we are calling on the mayor, who is thankfully here today, and the Common Council to swiftly adopt a local law prohibiting the incineration of all waste, including sediment, in the city of Rensselaer. And by the way, the only way we learned about this was through an article in the Albany Times-Union. Thank goodness for strong local journalism. Everyone renew your subscription. And renew your WAMC subscription as well while you're at it. But let me just give a little bit of history, because the company Harbor Rock, which is based in New Jersey, has never come here and met with the community and talked about what they want to do. So people are familiar with environmental dredging. Remember the long history of getting PCBs out of the Hudson River. So that's where PCB hotspots were dredged. I worked on that for decades, including during my tenure at EPA when the project wrapped up. The hotspots were dredged. The sediment from the river bottom was brought to a, quote, dewatering facility in Hudson Falls. All the water was squeezed out, the toxins were treated, and then that sediment, or mud, the bottom of the river is mud, was sent to an out-of-state permitted landfill. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about what's known as navigational dredging. So parts of rivers and harbors fill up, they silt over. And in order for the boats to make safe passage, you have to have some dredging. That's inevitable. And if you are environmentally responsible, you dredge up the river bottom, you squeeze out the water. If there are toxic chemicals, you treat it, and then you send it to a permitted landfill. That's not what Harbor Rock wants to do. They want to dredge up and down the Hudson River, probably parts of New Jersey, but we're guessing at that, and very likely New York Harbor. They want to bring all of that dredge material right down the street here to the BASF property on the Hudson River. I don't know if it will arrive by truck or by barge. And they want to burn the river sediment in what's called a rotary kiln incinerator. They claim that incinerating the dredged material will destroy the toxic chemicals in the sediment. That is simply not true. Some will be destroyed, but not all. And unfortunately, because of a legacy of pollution, the bottom of the Hudson River still has some PCBs, which is a carcinogen. It has heavy metals, such as lead, which is a neurotoxin, interfering with our ability to learn. And it also contains vast amounts of PFAS chemicals. This is a family of chemicals that causes thyroid disease, kidney cancer, testicular cancer, and other illnesses. And if PFAS sounds familiar, it's because that's what was found in the public drinking water supply in Hoosick Falls and Petersburg, PFOA particularly. So this high temperature doesn't destroy the toxins, but wait, there's more. Not only do they want to bring vast amounts of dredge spoil to the city of Rensselaer, they want to burn it and then turn it into an aggregate material to be sold to construction companies, where it will be spread all over who knows where. This sounds like Norlite 2.0 to me, and we will hear from Joe Ritchie about the many, many problems with Norlite. We have spent decades cleaning up the Hudson River. We have spent decades trying to reduce air pollution so kids have a chance that they're not struggling with asthma, so older folks are not struggling with heart disease and lung disease. So we are coming together. This is a fierce group. This is a coalition that just sprung up in the last 2 weeks. I'm particularly excited to announce that today we're joined by a number of women with the Sisters of Mercy. The Sisters of Mercy have been in the city of Rensselaer since 1863. So their presence tells me that we have a certain edge in taking on this issue, that we're going to win, that we're going to all show up at the Rensselaer Common Council meeting on November 20th when they have scheduled a public hearing. And we're also going to support Mayor Mike Stammel, who is the mayor here in the city of Rensselaer and who has consistently been on our side on so many environmental threats to the city, whether it was the bio-high-tech proposal at the same site, the Dunn landfill, the hundreds of diesel trucks that come rumbling through this beautiful little city every day. So it's my great honor to stand with Mayor Stammel, and it's my honor to introduce him.
Hey, everybody take a deep breath. That's fresh air. Okay, and we want to keep it. We can't call up any of our local distributors and have somebody deliver us a fresh box of fresh air every day. So what we're here to do is to make sure the air that we have is ours forever and it stays fresh, and to stop these big corporations from trying to pollute our air. I mean, we do everything we can in this country, I'd like to think, or at least I'm going to do it here in this city, to make sure that the air we breathe is safe. I have grandchildren, I have great-grandchildren, I have a family, I have neighbors, I have friends, I have neighbors that I want to be able to breathe fresh air each and every day. And with that, I want to thank you all to the City of Rensselaer, the Rensselaer Fort Cralo Historical Neighborhood, which is very important to me, obviously, for many reasons. And with that, I also want to say, we don't want this plant here. I will oppose it every inch of the way. I was invited to the Albany Port Authority for a meeting back in June. I went to it. They said something they wanted to tell me, and somebody was interested to coming to the city of Rensselaer and developing on the BASF property. There's nothing more than I want is more here for the city of Rensselaer is more economical development. No longer do I want to be considered here, or the residents here in the city of Rensselaer want to be known as the backyard of Albany. I want to be the front yard of Albany. I don't want to be the backyard anymore. And we're doing everything that we can here, as if you drive through our city, you see change coming. And we are making that change, and I'm going to see that change comes. And by putting something negative as that plant back here in the city of Rensselaer, and what I think go 50 years backwards from where we're trying to go forward right now, would be a detriment to this city, not for now, but for the next 50 years, if not longer, because we know a lot of these chemicals just don't go away. As Judith had said before, they're here forever. But let's move them somewhere else. If they got to have them at all, they got to go somewhere else. So back to where being at that meeting with over in the Port of Albany, with the director of the port and this White Rock group, they had told us all about what they wanted to do to some degree. I had a lot of questions for them, so did my planning director at the time. I says, well, they told us how good the plant was and how great it was going to be. And I says, well, I need a white paper that's going to tell me a little bit more information about what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, and how I can explain this will be a benefit to the city of Rensselaer. Well, till this day, I've never gotten any information back from them. So I haven't heard from them since back in June. And then all of a sudden I see an article in the Times Union newspaper telling me that, hey, we're up and coming and we're on our way to move to the Port of Rensselaer. Well, that's not going to happen here. And I want you to know that. That just tells me how dishonest and disingenuous they are when they promise that they're going to provide you information that's going to justify their existence, and then they ignore you and then throw something out to the newspaper that says that they're going to be the next savior over here, providing jobs and opportunities and businesses to the city of Rensselaer and Rensselaer County. That just tells me something that none of us wanted, that they're just disingenuous, and I'm not going to work with people that I can't trust. And I already got a feeling that I wouldn't be able to trust them in the first place. So with that, I would like to say that the Port of Albany, the Port of Rensselaer, has a commission on it. The commission is made up of 7 members. 6 of those members are members appointed to the city of Albany. The city of Rensselaer has 1. And those appointments are all made by Governor Hochul, or the governor of New York State. I've been in office now for almost 6 years. I've reached out to the Governor Cuomo's office when he was there. I've reached out to Governor Hochul's office. They have not allowed me to put a person to sit on that board that represents the city of Rensselaer, which I think is unjust. How can we turn around and say we can work with the port if we can't have a representative there? How can they turn around and say we're going to bring business and support that business if I don't have a representative on the inside? So therefore, I urge any of you, if you can help me with Governor Hochul, to respond and say, hey, we need to have somebody on the Albany Port Authority who's going to speak on behalf of Rensselaer and Rensselaer County. So with your help, I hope you get that. Other than that, I want you to know I am very happy that you're here. again, welcome again. Stay and enjoy the sights. Drive through our city, see some of the changes that are going on. There's a lot of them. If you've read the paper lately with a DRI that we've put in to enhance a lot of things that are going to happen here in the city in the near future, this place is going to be booming in the next couple of years, and I want it to be all positive. We don't need anything negative.
Thank you. Next, I want to introduce Bob Welton. Bob is the leader of the Rensselaer Environmental Coalition. In fact, Bob first alerted us to the Harbor Rock project, so it is because of him we are able to gather all here today. We couldn't do it without him. Please welcome Bob.
Thank you, Bob. So I'm not speaking extemporaneously, unlike some of my predecessors here today. So thank you for showing up today, and thank you for your prompt advocacy from an amazing group of environmental rights advocates and public officials who have banded together in a very short time to stop another environmental health and truck traffic threat from locating in Rensselaer. This is not a political party issue. At its core, it's a human rights issue. This is not we are trying to eliminate threats like the Dunn landfill and not increase the threats by enabling another one. Jack Conway of the Town of East Greenbush supervisor is traveling out of state today, so he could not be here. He provided the following statement. As supervisor of the neighboring town of East Greenbush, we are already trying to mitigate the dangerous effects of the Dunn landfill on our residents. That project should never have been approved because we weren't made aware of the deleterious effects of the chemicals emanating from the landfill until after it was in operation. Projects like this must be stopped before they are approved, and that requires elected officials who listen to their constituents. I'm listening, and all I hear are cries of, please stop bringing toxic materials into our neighborhoods. This project is a terrible idea, made worse by the cumulative effects of the Dunn landfill, and should be strenuously opposed before it even gets off the ground. That's the end of Jack's statement. Thank you, Jack. If the DEC can approve the Dunn landfill, the state's largest C&D landfill, a couple of 100 feet from a 1,000 student school, we are here to make sure an incinerator never gets to the point where the agency is considering its location in a state-registered hazardous waste site in an environmental justice community. You cannot make this stuff up. How can a major international business, guided by local officials at the Port of Albany, who must know the history and ongoing environmental issues like the Dunn landfill in Rensselaer, even consider locating here in a hazardous waste site? Somebody missed several beats. It's ill-conceived, inadvisable, and misguided. That is what I call the Harbor Rock and the Port of Albany thought that it is a good idea to spend a reported $100 million to construct a frack gas-powered river sludge incinerator at an active hazardous waste site in an environmental justice zone. Don't they know that a garbage processing plant that was supposed to make aggregate for fuel at this site was rejected not that long ago? Don't they know that any proposed creation of an operation in an environmental, in an environmental justice zone requires substantial public input and a comprehensive environmental impact statement? Don't they know environmental injustice is the very thing they are considering? That is a major big money operation trying to locate in a vulnerable community and in the process putting people's health and the environment at risk. I guess they don't. Don't they know that the prevailing wind comes from the west across the Hudson and blows the pollutants the operation will create straight into the people in Rensselaer and East Greenbush, which is only a short distance directly west of this proposed site? Don't they know a Code 2 hazardous waste site on the DEC registry means that is a significant threat to public health and the environment? Harbor Rock must know that any high heat operation, which by the way they did not mention to the Rensselaer officials, as the mayor said at an informal meeting in June, will create greenhouse gases, dioxins, heavy metals, and particulate matter, all of which can cause significant health problems. In addition, the PFAS and PCBs in the sludge will not be removed by incineration, which will add to the toxic soup. I suspect they must know this. Harbor Rock must know the operation will produce significant truck traffic since there must be a storage facility for the aggregate produced by the operation, as well as the additive substance that goes in the kiln with the sludge. In addition, the ash residue that is a byproduct of the process has to be trucked to a landfill, not the done because they expect it will no longer exist. Rensselaer is already besieged with truck traffic. No more, please. We are trying to reduce it, not increase it. We want Rensselaer and East Greenbush to be better places, not worse. Both groups should have another think.
Thank you all for being here. I always have to fix the mic. It's always a problem I have. Thank you. All right, okay. Well, thanks everyone again for being here. My name's Joe Ritchie. I was a lifelong resident of Saratoga sites over in Cohoes before we were forced out of our homes due to the pollution of the Norlite hazardous waste incinerator. We cannot allow another Norlite 2.0 to be built in our backyard. We're here today to say no. For decades, residents of Cohoes, For decades, residents of Cohoes, Green Island, Colony have had to deal with the hazardous legacy of the Norlite hazardous waste incinerator. When I was young, I would go out and I'd be so excited when the first snow would arrive because I'd be able to play with my friends and have a good time as a little kid. But I knew that within the next couple days, that snow would become unplayable. Our fingers would get dirty, the snow would become dark and black, and we couldn't play in it anymore because we would get dirty from the snow that Norlite was polluting. When I was a kid also, we would play in the creek that would run from Norlite. I regret that now, playing in it, but we were kids and we wanted to find the turtles, the frogs, explore, be young, be youthful. And I would always question, why is the water, why does it have a rainbow color? Why does it feel, slimy and icky and smells horrible? And why are there like weird things in the pools of the creek as well that I can't explain either? These are things, now looking back, I realize were a direct result of the Norlite hazardous waste incinerator. When I would clean my home during every spring when we would take out the ACs or put them back in, the ACs units would be completely black, the filters, and something my grandfather, when he would help us put them in, take them out, the paper towel would be completely black. Not gray from your dust, but completely black. And this was something that he said, Joe, this is a problem. And of course, me being 10, I'm like, well, I've grown up with it my whole life. This is normal. We cannot allow this facility to come here and for kids to play in black snow to be a normal thing, for kids to play in clouds of dust to be a normal thing, because it's not. When I was young, I have distinct memories playing with my friends on the playgrounds at Saratoga sites, and clouds of toxic dust would come towards us. And we would wonder what that is. It was almost like a sandstorm in a sense. And we would later find out through testing that Lights Out Norlite has done with our friend Dave Walker over at Columbia University, this dust was silica dust, cancerous, deadly. It's very scary, and we cannot allow this facility to be here. And one more thing, we were always told, and this is why it's critical that we're killing the dragon now before it even comes, because we were always told, we would go to our then mayor, not the mayor now, but previous elected officials, and they would say, oh, Joe, don't worry about it. The black snow is just because you live right next on the road. It's because of this, that, and the third. Yeah, they incinerated 2 million pounds of AFFF, PFAS under your nose, but it's okay. Look the other way. We have to act now, because we cannot rely on the DEC or, for future officials to protect us, because they may not. So it's easy to get the bud nipped now so we can continue the fight, so we can end this legacy before it even begins. And that's why today, Lights Out Norlite is going to be standing with the residents of Rensselaer, calling on the mayor to stop this facility before it even comes, and so we can prevent future Joe Ritchie's living in the shadow of a facility that will haunt them forever. So, thank you.
I was at a committee meeting with the Common Council Monday, and we wanted to put this on the agenda for Wednesday when they had their regular meeting, and the Common Council president pulled it off and said, no, if we turn around and we stop Norlite from coming in for having this incinerator plant, that'll, huh?
Not Norlite.
Or my Hard Rock, I'm just listening. Hard Rock, I'm sorry. Hard Rock from coming into the city. What will that do for other plants? We'll stop other facilities from coming in. And I tried to explain to him, that's the point, we want to stop other comes in there. And he convinced the rest of the body to pull that, and it was just a resolution for a public hearing. That's all it was, for a public hearing. So, and a lot of the other members of the council were saying, we really should put this on, But he pulled it off anyway, so therefore we weren't able to vote on it this past Wednesday. I believe it will come back up at their next meeting for a public hearing, and after the public hearing, then they'll have a resolution I would hope to pass in order to advocate against this facility from coming into the city.
We know that the company talked to the mayor but didn't mention that an incinerator was involved in their desire to come here to the city of Rensselaer. The company, which is based in New Jersey, has not appeared here to meet with the community. I don't think they've put in any permits, so we don't know what their timeline is. We hope it's never.
Currently, right now, the BASF property was subleased to John Dunn, who owns the Dunn demolition facility. So therefore, now that facility, John Dunn, has subleased it to the Port of Albany. So therefore, as far as the property goes, it'll always be owned by BASF. They declared it to be too expensive to clean it up. So anything that is built on top of it would have to be built on a slab. If there was some break in the slab in order to provide water or sewer or things of that nature to it, there would be really high federal regulations to see how that would be done and how it would be treated and how it would be monitored, if I'm correct, right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
BASF property is a New York State DEC Class 2 Superfund site, meaning it's one of the most toxic in the state. The cleanup that New York DEC approved is completely inadequate. They did not require substantial removal of the toxics in the soil, and one of their reasons is they didn't want to see increased truck traffic, which is ironic given that up to 100 trucks go to the Dunn landfill every day, approved by the DEC. But this is a highly contaminated property, and I think that's why companies like this one look for contaminated properties like that. And it's never too late to do a better cleanup, especially since it's right on the river. Any other questions from the press? Dave, anyone?
Hi, my name is Sister Mary Ellen Owens. I'm a Sister of Mercy of the Americas, the Albany area community. We have several of the sisters with us here today. In 1863, the Sisters of Mercy arrived from New York in the city of Rensselaer, formerly called Greenbush. During that year, they set up their convent. They built St. John's School, which opened in 1864. I, as many of you, was born and raised in the city of Rensselaer. We have lived with this for a long time. As a child on Saturdays, we used to go to the dump to bring our garbage and our trash because there was no residential pickup. So you always had your trip to the dump on Saturday. At night, you would hear sirens, smoke, and see flames coming from the dump because that's when they burned it. My father was a firefighter in the city of Rensselaer. He worked at the hook and ladder on the corner of Partition and 3rd Street. That truck had to go to the dump to put those fires out because the piles were so high that they couldn't reach them with hoses. They had to use the ladders to get the fires out. As many of you here probably know, surrounding the city of Rensselaer is the Hollow. Everybody know where the Hollow is? That's where CAPS was. I never went there. Anyway, the Hollow extends from downtown, down Rensselaer, all the way up to North Greenbush. The Hollow surrounds the city of Rensselaer. All of the smoke and the ash travels along the Hollow. When I was growing up, there was a playground right at the Hollow on 8th Street. You never went in the Hollow because you never knew who was there, number one, hiding. But my parents would never let us go down into the Hollow. Today, they're not burning. However, there is still that memory of the stench in the air coming from the dump, which is now the Rensselaer landfill. Isn't that impressive? Now we're a landfill. I come from Albany. Very often coming over the bridge, I see these trucks coming over the Dumb Memorial Bridge, going up to the landfill. And I'm like, here we go, a little more trash. What's going to happen to it? We have a cemetery, Holy Sepulchre Cemetery. It is adjacent to the landfill, up on the hill. We had to go and clean. I'm sure many people here have families buried there. The Sisters of Mercy are all buried there. We had to go and clean the headstones because of the soot and the debris and the smoke that was coming from that landfill into the cemetery. We have to put a stop to this. It has to end. We have to forget about what we can bring into the city and start thinking about the people. Thank you.